Staying nice and cool there, right?
I am not.
Ah.
I want you to know. I believe it's up to 79 or 80 in here. Yeah,
Oh, that's too much. I hear
it is.
that they are working on it, though. I've
Um,
heard from somebody.
yeah. But by working on it, they placed a call to our vendor that might get out here because the air conditioning hasn't worked in the hallways for 2 days, so that hasn't been taken care of yet. So what's the likelihood that it's going to be taken care of? So I don't know. The rest of the condos can be comfortable. I doubt it.
An interesting strategy they have there. I feel like when it starts breaking in one area, you try to get ahead of that so it doesn't.
I was just having that conversation with my son that, the board was so proud of themselves that for 8 years they were able to hold down our monthly maintenance fees that they charged us for 8 years. That's because they weren't doing any of the
Yeah.
required maintenance. so, so that, as somebody once said, the poop is hitting the fan now. Yeah.
Yeah. When you don't do scheduled pre-maintenance, you end up having to make some serious repairs.
I'm afraid so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if my
Interesting. Well,
barber is going to be able to actually give me a haircut today because the sweat will just be
it'll
pouring out
just
of my head when I.
Well, do they do a cold towel? My barber does a cold towel
Well,
in
he
the
might
summer
want
instead
to
of a hot
today.
towel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you
What?
might need that.
Yeah. What the hell are we talking about today, other than my air conditioning or lack thereof?
So I was reading the story again. Sorry, Toyota. They're both
Yeah.
T words. Um,
Yeah.
Going on about their 900-mile battery in the future. This isn't
Yeah.
something they're doing, but by 2025 they expect to have the solid state out,
Okay.
which is really quick. 2027 they want the next version out, which will be charging in 10 minutes and get over 600-mile range, but they think they can be able to push it to 900 miles.
Wow.
So that just got me to wondering, like, for people to make the EV jump, how much mileage is enough? How much range is enough? And I'm not saying too much, because
Hmm.
nothing's too much. Like, whatever, if you can get 2,000 miles and I charge it once a year, great. But
Yeah.
whatever it is, like, how much are people? Because I feel like people expect more range out of an EV than they do their traditional ICE vehicle.
I think you might be right. I know that, when I fill up my Mini, um, on a good day, if I really do the speed limit, or when I'm on the highway at 55 or 65 miles an hour, I could get about a 400-mile range. Of course, I don't drive 55 or 65 miles an hour, and so I don't get a 400-mile range. But I think the difference is that I know if I have to stop and get gas, it's only going to take me 5 minutes to fill the gas tank, and so then I can go speed off and get my 320 miles instead of 400 miles. And I think the major conundrum for a lot of people is that they assume when they have to pull over to charge their electric vehicle that a lot of people are still thinking that, this is 2015 and it's going to take them an hour
Yeah.
to charge it up enough so that they can continue on their journey, where legitimately today it really doesn't take an hour. In most cases, if it took a half hour, it would be a lot.
Yeah, most cases, I think half hour would be a lot. Yeah, and Learning Fast has here too. How many people can go 500 miles without stopping to use the restroom? Um, some, but yeah, I mean, when
Yes.
I do the drive down south, it's about 600 miles, and I usually stop once.
Yeah.
Frank says 300-mile range. I would think that's where I thought, because
Yes.
the average ICE vehicle is 300 to 400-mile range on average, right?
Sure.
Jared says 400. Uh, Joe here from Rev Nation says 500 miles. One of our new coaches. If you didn't see him
Hmm.
over on the Zach and Ray show, hi Joe. Um, and I think I always thought 300 to 400 would make the most sense. But I think you might be right, Ray. I think there's a aspect of people thinking that they have to, first off, that you have to use the public charger, that you're not going to
Yes.
charge at home. But then certainly when you pull into a gas station, was it take 5 minutes to fill up your tank now?
Yes.
So if they're thinking, let's say it's only 15 minutes, maybe that is still too long for a certain amount of people if you're doing 300-mile range. So maybe you're right. Maybe 500. Maybe Joe's right.
Yeah.
500-mile range might be that tipping point. I'm just. It was interesting because I keep seeing this and I get a lot more people when I talk to them. People who don't know a lot about EVs, and
Yeah.
I am getting the 500 plus range. But then I ask people how much mileage they get in their car, and they don't know
Yes.
either. They don't
Well,
know that they're getting between 300 and 400 mile range, unless they got a truck.
but they're not concerned because there's basically a gas station on every corner,
Yeah,
in and that's not necessarily the case with the EV charger. So I think that's the scary part for so many people is that there just isn't um charging stations as convenient as gas stations are. So I think
yeah,
once that gets corrected, I don't think people will even give a damn what the range of the vehicle is, as long as there's some place for them to to fill up,
yeah.
charge up, whatever the
I get
term
that.
is. Yeah,
I always say, Joe, EVs are impacted by the elements. I might disagree on the word massively
yeah,
and extreme. They are impacted, certainly. All vehicles are, and EVs are more impacted by those elements than ICE vehicles for sure.
yes,
Um, but I wouldn't say massively, but certainly. But also, sorry, Stuart had a good comment here. If you're only charging 80%, you've also lost a lot of range there.
yeah,
And you're right. You are correct in that. So if your car is only getting 300 miles, but you're charged 80%, then now what, you're 240 miles.
yes.
So there's certainly something to be said there.
I really I think it just I think it just boils down to how available are the charging stations, and once they are as available as gas stations are, people won't care what the range is on their vehicle. They won't necessarily buy it for the range at that point because they'll have so many options for being able to recharge as necessary. Uh, so I really think more than anything, infrastructure is the key to this.
Yeah,
If people see charging stations as readily available as gas stations are, then the fear factor of running out of electricity that dissipates, that goes away. It's not really a concern anymore. And I don't think, having spent as many years in the car business as I did, other than when we had gas crises, I don't think people really cared what the mileage was on their vehicles. What type of mileage that their car got, and what the range was. People didn't care. They only cared when gas suddenly went from 2.50 a gallon to $5 a gallon,
yeah,
and it became an issue. But if gas was in what they thought was comfortable for them, 2.50, $3 a gallon, they didn't care if their car got 15 miles to the gallon or 25 miles to the gallon. They knew there were enough gas stations they could go fill up.
yeah. And I mean, and to that point, Learning Fast has a point here. Many people don't know how many chargers there are simply because they don't see them because they're not
Yes,
on places and gas stations. I know lots of people who drive by chargers all the time, and they'll go, "Oh, I didn't know that was there. Oh, I didn't
yes,
know that was there." It's like, well, yeah, if you unless you're driving and you have a need for it, you actually don't realize how many there are. But he also has a good point here, not to just be spotlighting a learning fast all day long,
Yeah.
but what we need are more level 2 chargers in apartments and businesses, and not just fast chargers. And that I 100% agree with, because um, most of the people I know own their homes and just really almost never deal with a fast charger ever, unless you're on a road trip. So the more that infrastructure gets built up, I think more
Mhm.
than the fast chargers, that infrastructure. However, I will say this: when I was on my trip to Santa Cruz 2 trips ago, when I was by myself, I did pass a supercharger, and I was kind of in that range where I could have stopped, or I didn't need to. And I decided to keep going. And then I thought to myself, the problem is I don't know how far the
Yes.
next supercharger is. And so I did have that in the back of my mind. I didn't need to, and it ended up being absolutely fine. But I'm in California, and I
Mhm.
acknowledge that things are different here,
Sure.
for as far as charging infrastructure goes. But I did note in my mind, look, I don't know that I can just take the next exit off the freeway and find a charger. Turns out there were 2 towns in between me and the next charging station. So, but were there gas stations in both those towns? Of course there were.
Mhm.
But I had to pass 2 different towns to get to the next exit where there was a charging station. I was still plenty of range. I'm one of the people who don't like to let my car get down below 20%,
Uh-huh.
without knowing at least there's a charging station close. But but it is a concern, and I do acknowledge that.
When you go on trips like that, would you ever think to pull off the freeway or whatever you're on, and pull into a local chain motel? Because so many of those today have charging stations at them, where you could just charge up a little bit there till you can get to the next big charging station,
I
fast
have
charge.
looked I have looked at that. So I've gone to, in the Tesla, the screen you can search by level 1, 2, or 3
Hmm.
superchargers. And then
Yes,
I have the a better route planning app where I can pull up and I can see anybody's charger.
gotcha.
And I have done that. I have absolutely done that and gone, okay, just in case, is there a often, like, yeah, is there a hotel or an RV park or
Something,
something
yeah,
where somebody has something? I did that when I went to Tahoe, because Tesla only listed one charging station in the entire city. And it, South Lake Tahoe, between me and South Lake Tahoe, is mainly just mountain.
yes, it
There's
is.
there's nowhere to pull off. So
Yeah,
there are both no charging stations and no gas stations in between, because there's just
yeah.
nowhere to go. So I had the thought of, okay, this might be my most range anxiety trip I've taken, because I can't just drive there, know there's going to be a ton. When I get there, of course, I look at other chargers in the area, and
Hmm.
there are a ton of chargers in South Lake Tahoe. There's
Oh,
just one
absolutely.
one
Come on.
Tesla supercharger
Yeah, I
station.
mean, in South Lake Tahoe, you do have a few casino hotels, and I can't imagine that those hotels don't have some charging facilities available within their parking garages,
Yep.
for people like you that are making the trip from the Sacramento area to Tahoe. You know, you the, they have to have that type of infrastructure at those major hotels,
Yeah.
I would think.
They were not as upfront as I expected them to be. Though the Tesla supercharger in Hard Rock was way off on the far side of a garage. So if I
Yeah.
wanted to go to the casino to charge up, I'd have to charge and then drive to go into the casino.
Wow.
For me, I'm like,
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want to make that. And now, keeping in mind it was 112 degrees the day I was there, so I just wouldn't want to walk out there and do that anyway.
No, I don't
But
blame you. When was the last time it got to 112 degrees in Tahoe? Oh my goodness.
well, 2 Sundays ago.
Okay. Well,
Like,
we used
but
to go
before that,
there.
I don't know.
Yes, because we used to go there in the summers many, many times. The family loved Lake Tahoe. We would fly up there from the Phoenix area. Because, well, obviously it's much cooler than Phoenix, but at 112 degrees, that is A, not much cooler than Phoenix, and B, so many of the places up there don't even have air conditioning because, well, we're in the mountains. We don't need air conditioning here.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't live without air conditioning here. I think you're regretting not having it at the moment there.
Well, I hate to say this, but as I'm sitting here, I'm cooling down because I can actually feel cooler air making its way towards me. So apparently, our air conditioning system at our condo is chillers, okay, where they run cold water through it and then they force that cool air from the cold. So, but apparently they fixed the chiller because I'm feeling cool air.
Because you're feeling chilled.
It's about damn time.
Yeah. So we have Jason here says all the free chargers are so slow they're not worth it. Completely disagree. I completely and totally disagree. I use them all the time. I almost use them more than I mean, not almost. I use them more than I supercharge. Because I just go when I'm going shopping, I go places. Plus, I'm not limited. So if you go to a Tesla supercharger, once your vehicle's done charging, you start accruing idle charges, which are way more than the electric charges, much, much higher, because they want you to get out so the next person can get in there.
Sure.
Where in the level 2s, they don't do that. So there is a Tesla supercharger at a mall up in Roseville, a subsidiary of Sacramento, that I go to, and they have Tesla superchargers there, but they also have some level 2 chargers. I will always try to go to the level 2 because then I can go around the mall. I can go see a movie there. I can shop and then come out. And am I full? No, I'm not always full, but believe me, I got enough range.
Yeah, you're full enough.
There. Yeah, just to go, and it's free, so that's great.
I would get if you're doing a big trip, that you don't necessarily want to use a free charger if they're slow. I get that, but if you're basically within your normal neighborhoody type of thing and you're shopping and you can pick up a free charge while you're shopping, I mean, why the hell not? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, or like I mentioned here many times, I go to the movies a lot. I see every movie that comes out in my area. I try to see it, and if I can get into a place that has a charger there, then I always come out and I'm fully charged. And all I've done is just sit and watch a movie.
Okay, so I need to ask you a question.
Yes.
Did you see Oppenheimer this weekend?
I did.
And what did you think? My kids saw it. They all loved it.
I loved it, but I do think so. I went with 2 other people. One person had about as much knowledge of me on the subject. And one person had no knowledge whatsoever, had never even heard of Robert Oppenheimer.
Okay.
And I will say this, in my experience from watching the movie, if you go in knowing nothing, you're not going to come out with a lot more knowledge.
Okay.
there are some expectations involved in the movie that who some of these people are and their contributions and things in there. They certainly cut out some of his personal life.
Mm-hmm.
They certainly cut out some of that. But but no, the movie was amazing. It was a great movie.
Did you find it too long? That was Zach's complaint, that it was a little long, 3 hours.
So, just a little over. Did I find it too long? No. Okay. But do I understand the average audience might? Yes. Okay. I can see that. However, I kept saying, I wish they had included this. I wish they had included this. I wish they had included this. And then I go, look, but I don't, at 3 hours, I don't know where they were going to include more of these things that there were just so much to touch on in Oppenheimer's life and that whole thing that I felt like they rushed through, like it was a long movie that I felt like they rushed through some parts.
Gotcha. Now, did you see Barbie?
I did.
And I want your review on Barbie.
Um, it was not my kind of movie. I'll put it that way. I did not enjoy it. Had I not been there with other people, I would have left.
Okay. It was that
Um,
boring.
it was, yeah. It was just uh, the messaging of it, the structure of it, the story of it. And don't get me wrong, I wanted to like it because if you don't know, Greta Gerwig, the director and writer, is from Sacramento,
Oh, I did
and
not know that.
she sets a lot of her. Actually, her Academy Award was from
Yeah.
a movie set here in Sacramento about her uh, growing up. So I went in wanting to like it a lot more than I ended up liking it. I think if you were a preteen girl,
Yeah.
you would probably really enjoy it a lot.
Okay. Well,
Uh, I'm not one
I
of
don't,
them.
I can't recall any stage in my life where I was a preteen girl.
You know,
Uh, so
yeah.
I'll probably, truth be told, I'll probably stay away from both of them, and I'll wait for Oppenheimer to come to a streaming service near me soon, or
Well, for
whenever.
Oppenheimer, just make sure that when you watch it, you do it undistracted because there's a lot to pay attention to in it.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that I like about the theater more than home is I'm forced to sit and watch the movie and not play on my phone and not doing.
Yeah. Well, when I watch movies on at home, I don't keep any of my devices near me.
Yeah, okay, then yeah, you'd probably be fine. I don't think that movie was more for adults at all. I don't. I know the references might have been. Oh, that was the other thing about Barbie.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think most people are going to get 20% of the references in that movie. There's so many Hollywood references in that. Like
Yeah.
I got them, but I was with other people in the business who were like, I didn't understand that. So I explained the joke to them, but I'm like, I don't know why there's so many inside Hollywood jokes in that movie. LA and the business and stuff. I didn't really understand why any of that was in there. Um, Other people have made comments that I agree with in there that I won't pull up, but yeah. So let me go back to Susanna on two other points, though. Going
Yes.
back to the EV thing, um, how are EVs handling the extreme heat? My experience has not been. Now, Ray, you shared an article about this with Justin and I the other day,
Yes.
and the article mentioned that Tesla's the least affected and had the least amount of problems. Look, we had well over 110 degrees for 4 or 5 days. I saw absolutely no difference in my vehicle.
Uh-huh.
However, as we talked about many times on the show before, anecdotal is not statistical. And yeah, EVs are you can lose some pretty good range in the heat.
Uh-huh.
But to your point, Susanna, it is not the AC that doesn't really affect the EV range all that much. Probably actually less than an ICE vehicle, and it does work. I will say this: we got into the car when it was 112 degrees outside, and obviously I have a black on black car, so it was much hotter sitting in the direct sun. It was less than 5 minutes. That car was cool,
Wow.
like
Very
very
cool.
cool. So the AC worked really, really well.
You
But
know, Sam from Texas asked a very uh, interesting question. Are we still talking about Toyota? Sam, I probably we're not at the moment, and I will take blame for that. I will apologize for that. As you know from watching our shows, I get off topic very easily, and that's because um, um, I suffer from what is it, attention deficit disorder. When I no, literally, when I was a young child and I was in school, you know, I often wondered. My teachers often wondered, what the hell's wrong with Ray? And just because my mind would wander, I just could not focus the way they needed. So I apologize, Sam. It's my fault. Let's talk about Toyota. So we got up to 2027. They hope to have their second version of the solid state batteries. And they're hoping that those will get 700, 900 mile range.
yeah, 5 to 600 mile by 2027. but they're
Wow.
saying 500 miles 2025. So I mean, if they can do that, if Toyota can pull that off. Now keep in mind that all these timelines have been pushed from 2017 and now we're here at 2025.
So basically, what you're telling me is um, the solid state battery is the cyber truck of batteries.
No, because the Cybertruck is rolling off the assembly line and is being sold now.
Yeah,
Well,
but
not now, but
when was it? When was that first announced? Was that
well,
2017?
no, it was 2019.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just off by a couple of years. I do
Yeah,
apologize.
you and Elon both off by a couple years.
Okay,
Uh,
well, you know, um, so Toyota expects to actually have solid state batteries, hopefully by 2025.
Look, now what they're saying is that they have figured out a way to make the manufacturing process of solid state batteries cheap and scalable.
Okay.
They're saying they've already done that. Now we'll see. Like, proof is in the pudding. Like, they have one of the worst EVs out there right now. So,
Yeah.
we want to see it. But they're saying they've already figured that out in scalability, and now it's about getting all the materials together. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, you've heard me say it many, many, many times, Ray. I never count Toyota out. They're too innovative of a company. They might be late to this, but I think they'll probably leapfrog a lot of people.
I will relay a one quick story about being late to the party with something. Um, Acura was late to the party with an SUV, a real honest to goodness SUV, and they came up with the MDX. And as it was explained to us, if you're going to be late to the party, you better bring a really, really good looking date. And that's what the MDX turned out to be. And I think if Toyota's late to the party when it comes to EVs, their mindset is the same as what Acura's was. That their EVs will be so different from everybody else's simply because of the battery chemistry, that it'll still attract a ton of people, and be extremely popular like the MDX has been.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Do I think they're going to hit it by 2025? I don't think so, but I don't know. I'm not inside their company, so I don't know how far they are, but I know we've been hearing this from them for many years now, and the timeline
Mhm.
keeps getting pushed. I think 2027 is probably more likely, and I'm not saying the 900 mile. I don't know. I also
I
don't know that we need a 900 mile, but
yeah, I think
there's
that's
nothing wrong with it.
ridiculous. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you don't need it. Um, you know, I mean, how many ICE vehicles out there have a 600-mile range or a 700-mile range? I
Yeah.
mean, why do you need something that's a 900-mile range? Um,
And again, it's not about need for me. It's like,
yeah.
at what point, for me, the question was, at what point is the tipping point before people stop having range anxiety? But I
Mhm.
think we sort of showed here today that it's a lot more than just the range of the vehicle. I think
Yes.
people got to get used to a lot more about EVs than that. Like Joe, or sorry, Rev Nation here says there has to be some sort of Route 66 test. There have been many, many, many road tests
Yeah.
with EVs. Like Elon did the first one back in 2010, where he took a roadster across the country,
Wow.
uh, which was crazy now that I think about it. But there's lots of them. I would love to do the Route 66 test personally. Um,
I don't blame you. I will say one thing. Zach and I every Sunday, we go out to dealerships because, well, they're closed, and we film. And part of what we looked at this past Sunday was the amount of electric vehicles that are building up in dealer inventories. We were at a Mercedes dealership, and it
mhm.
was just rows and rows and rows of Mercedes EVs, and they ain't cheap. Um,
That's
and
why
and and
there's rows and rows of them.
and that was what we were talking about. How a year ago or 2 years ago, all the talk was, well, we're coming out with this EV or we're coming out with that, and everybody's coming out with an EV because, well, there was this great need to take on Tesla, and what's really happening in many cases is a lot of these vehicles are just sitting. The bud has come off the rose, so to speak. That all these manufacturers came out with these vehicles that are exceedingly expensive.
Yep.
And they're not finding a real market for them. I mean, we were at the Ford dealership where they had a ton of Mach-E's, and even the Hyundai dealership had, I think it was 6 EVs sitting there, and every one of them had a $10,000 market adjustment. So that to me says we're not really serious about trying to sell them. We're just hopeful that some fool will come in here and pay the money. But we were shocked at not only the amount of inventory that is beginning to build up, but how there's less demand for so many of these new EVs that are coming out than those manufacturers had thought there would be.
I think we've had this discussion both offline and online here. Now, it's my take on it is for these expensive EVs, everyone who could afford the expensive EVs and wanted them has now bought them.
Exactly.
And now you're at a point where that market is saturated, and you need to come out with reasonably priced EVs. Look, even
Yes.
Tesla has a problem with the S and the X. They're not selling. But
Yes.
the 3 and the Y are selling like hotcakes. Again, the Y was the number 2 selling vehicle in the world. Like there's a reason for that. The 3
Yes.
and the Y are selling no problem, but you need cheap vehicles. Affordable vehicles, and we mean
Affordable.
actual affordable.
Yes.
So which goes into this. What do you think of the Ioniq 6? I like the Ioniq 6. When I was looking at it with my sister, they were doing $2,000 markups on it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can easily get $2,000 off
Well,
because there's rows of them.
at the dealership we were at on Sunday, they had an Ioniq 6, which is an extremely attractive car.
Mm-hmm.
That if ever I have seen an overuse of LEDs, it is on that vehicle. So my supposition is that when there's a shortage of LED lights, it will be because of the way Hyundai designed the new Ioniq 6. But and I know Igor was asking, when the Mercedes-Benz video is going to drop. And honestly, Igor, I have no idea. I don't know if it's going to be Wednesday or Friday of this week, or it could be Saturday. I don't know. We filmed like 4 or 5 videos on Sunday. And we were, if I may, we were absolutely shocked at this Mercedes-Benz dealership outside of Atlantic City. And Atlantic County, New Jersey is not one of the wealthy counties in New Jersey. And literally there had to be 350 to 400 new and used Mercedes-Benzes. It was insane as to how many there were. And, like the lowest priced vehicles were in the upper 50s to low 60s. And so many of the vehicles were well in excess of $100,000. And you say, in a poor county, you think who the hell's buying this stuff? As I said to Zach, there's just not that many casino executives that can be coming in here month in, month out, trying to help relieve them of, I don't know, 150 to 200 new cars every month. I was just shocked, absolutely shocked. But I was mostly shocked at the number of electric vehicles they had. It was staggering, just staggering.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't. I'm seeing them build up here too. I know. I know. Susanna said they need to sell them to California. They're building up in California too. Believe
Yeah.
me, there's a saturation of things out here. Rev Nation says we won't see rows of Chevy Bolts. No, we will not see rows and rows of discontinued vehicles. That is for sure.
No. Yeah. There's a good reason for that. Yeah.
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 And then Billy asks, "Is it true that electric cars needs brake every 20,000 miles?" And also, people are saying tours every 20. I don't know what that means, but
Yeah.
brakes every 20,000 miles.
I don't think so.
Right?
And not if you use regenerative braking.
Yeah. Like
Right.
my brakes have zero wear on them. I just got my tires rotated yesterday, which are all really good. But yeah, my brakes had no wear on them. And they've never been changed in their 3-year life. But I've just used full regen braking, which does indeed apply the brakes in certain circumstances, but
Yes.
it's just not very much. And then Rick asked me, did I tie up the charger for 3 hours? Yes, because the only thing there is a movie theater, and they have the chargers just for people seeing the movie. This was not in a strip mall. It was just a freestanding movie theater with its own parking lot. So yes, I did. I did
It's not
indeed
your fault the
tie it up.
movie was 3 hours long.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
And that's what those are there. Would I do that in a strip mall? Probably not.
Yeah.
Depend on how many they had.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't do that with a supercharger.
You know, how at that movie theater, how many chargers did they have there?
They have 4.
Okay.
So it's not a lot
And-
yet, but I think they're going to grow.
Well, and the movie theater holds how many people?
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot.
More than 4?
Yeah, more than 4. More than 4. Hey, let me tell you, when we went to see Barbie, it was at the same theater, and there was a Chevy Bolt parked there in one of
Yeah.
the spots. Wasn't even charging. It was just parked in the spot.
Wow.
That pissed me off more. I'm like, if you're going to park
Yeah.
there and charge, use it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's not just open EV parking because you have an EV. It's a charge up thing. If you didn't need to charge, don't take that spot. That was
You know, it would be like somebody who has a handicap placard in their car, and that is handicapped and needs a handicap space, but when they let someone else drive their car who's not handicapped, well, that doesn't mean just because you have the placard you should park in a handicapped spot if you're not the one that's handicapped.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just use it if you need to use it, but if you don't,
Exactly.
just don't use it. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I saw it on XD, but not IMAX.
Okay. What's
So,
XD?
it's
Extra dimensional?
it's a large screen format from Cinemark. So out
Okay.
here, the closest IMAX to me that's a real IMAX is about 2.5 hours away in Dublin. So I
Wow.
did not. So I did not drive out there to see it. We have lots of fake IMAX near us.
Well,
The
very
digital
cool.
projection, so I don't
Yeah.
bother with that.
Yeah. You know, I hate to say this, but I am starting to get a little hungry.
Yeah, that's right. It's your lunchtime. I have a meeting coming up with the team and all the new coaches. So
Well, cool. Does that mean I can go eat?
that's right. That's right. I did not read the report yet. Are they bringing back the Bolt second generation 2 months after they announced that they were going to get rid of it? I'll have to look that up.
And Igor wants to know what's for lunch. It's a southwestern turkey breast on rye with mustard and some Cooper Sharp American cheese.
So
There you
that'd
have
be bass time then.
it. Yes.
Yes, that'd be bass.
Yeah. Yes. A big ass sandwich, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. All right. Well, you enjoy your sandwich, Ray. We will be
Thank
back
you.
tomorrow talking about something. I don't know. Maybe we can do a movie review show. I can talk about the best movies of 2023.
Okay.
Or we'll just talk about EVs. Whatever.
Either or we could talk about both.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
there is a way to work both in.
That's right. Because
Yeah.
I will tell you, The 3 top best movies of 2023.
Yeah.
Most of you have never heard of or seen.
Okay. Well, cool. Maybe tomorrow we can at least discuss what they are,
That's right.
and then you can explain to me why I would need to see them.
You can see one of them, the best one, right now on Amazon Prime.
Okay. Would that be
So,
Babylon?
that would not be Babylon. We'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out.
There's our hook for tomorrow,
That's
ladies
right.
and gentlemen. Well,
All
thank
right.
you, Justice.
Have
That
a
was
good day.
fun. Yeah, I'll talk to you
Bye.
later.